Jackson Systems is your controls expert in the HVAC industry. With our top-notch technical support and customer service, we make life easier for you, the HVAC contractor. We offer free trainings on any products sold here at Jackson Systems, along with our filter fetch program, free thermostat imprinting, home and business automation with connected sensors, cameras, and even smart stats from Nest, Ecobee, Honeywell, White Rogers, Google, and more. Visit us at jacksonsystems.com to see the products that continue to win industry acclaim among contractors worldwide. Jackson Systems, controls done right.
When I was a little kid, one of the things that I loved to do the most was to go out with my father and study astronomy. I actually remember when I was 5 or 6 years old, me and my father took an astronomy class. I don't remember where it was because a lot of these memories are just bits and pieces, still frames, flashes in time. Can't really remember exactly what was going on. I know we were going to a stargazers class somewhere. I'm guessing it must have been the local community college, Cape Fear Community College down in Wilmington, North Carolina. I remember going out to a large field. I don't know where it was. It was at night. We took our telescope out there and we looked up into the sky. We could see all these different things. I remember looking at the M42 Nebula, Horsehead Nebula in Orion's Belt. I remember looking at Ursa Major. All these terms that I knew so well back then when I was just a few years old, I don't remember anymore. I just remember bits and pieces of it. Like I can remember the Horsehead Nebula, because it was an interesting thing. I remember studying star clusters. And if we found a star cluster in the sky where you had several stars in one spot, we get really excited about stuff like that. That interest stayed with me for a long period of time. As time went by and I grew up, I still kept that interest. Many years later, after my son was born, and not my first son, my second son, Landon, I was able to revisit that subject one more time in an odd way. My son Landon had a high fever one time due to pneumonia. This bout with pneumonia was very bad. The fever was well over 105 degrees. He was airlifted to a hospital near Raleigh, North Carolina, UNC Chapel Hill University Hospital. He stayed there for a week, and for a week I slept on the floor. I remember my wife went home because it was a 60th birthday for my mother-in-law or for my aunt. I can't remember which one it was. It was so long ago. My wife went home one day, but there for 7 days I slept on the floor on an air mattress. And I can still remember the creaks and the little movements every time I moved around when I was sleeping. It was horrible sleep. But he was sick. He was so sick, in fact, that they had to do surgery. They opened up his side just a little bit, like a laparoscopic scar, just about a ½ inch long. And they actually went inside with a scalpel and scraped the exterior of his lung for this pneumonia that had grown there. Very scary stuff. But I'm sort of getting off the subject, aren't I? For that week, I had to entertain myself somehow. And what I did was I picked up a book on astronomy. This book was a couple 100 pages long. I don't even remember where I got it. But I loved astronomy coming up. I told you the stories of my father and me out on the fields. It was a great bonding moment, a very special time. I look back on it with such romanticism. Beautiful starry skies, a great landscape, darkened by the night, but still enjoyable. So I bought this astronomy book, a couple 100 pages long, and in one afternoon I read that entire book. From start to finish. It went so quickly. Because typically I'm not a big book reader. Most of the time it's an HVAC technical book or some sort of product catalog. It's not really a great narrative or even a great nonfiction book or even a great textbook. Although I do read textbooks from time to time. So I read this astronomy book from start to finish that afternoon. And I'm getting to a lesson here, guys, I promise. I read about something called the Roche Limit. Now, the Roche Limit was a very cool thing. And you may disagree with me, especially if you know what it is. So, well, no, I don't think it's cool. But it actually is really cool. Now, it wasn't cool that I called it the Roche Limit for like 8 years. But it's actually the Roche Limit. Named for a French scientist, I believe. So the Roche Limit is basically a line in the sand, figuratively, because it's in between two bodies in outer space. We'll take, for example, the Earth and the Moon. There's a line there that if the Moon were to cross that line, getting closer to Earth and its gravitational pull, the moon would actually come apart. You'd have this deadly collision of two worlds. Both the Earth and moon have gravitational pulls, but they're at enough distance where they stay that same distance, they orbit each other as the Earth orbits the sun, and no danger comes to either one. But if it were to pass the moon into the Roche Limit area, it would come apart and plummet toward the Earth or become a ring around the Earth like Saturn or Jupiter has. It's very cool. So let me skip ahead to where we can actually apply this somewhere. Because I'm going to skip ahead until we get to today, when I recorded this podcast, because I started thinking about the Roche Limit again while I was doing something outside. When it gets into the fall and the winter time, I start making fires in my fire pit outside, which my fire pit is nothing more than a bunch of cinder blocks stacked in a rectangular shape. No grout, no mortar, just cinder blocks. Just to contain the fire, so I have something to put sticks into and leaves into. And I was out there building my fire, and I started thinking about this Roche Limit and how it applies to people. Because I think if you really think about it, there's people in your life, people that you know, that have these imaginary lines around them. Now, it's not everybody. There's people out there that are easygoing. My good buddy Ralph, there's no Roche limits around Ralph. He's just an easygoing guy. He'll talk to you. Hell, Ralph will talk to a brick wall, probably. Carry on the conversation for an hour. Really easy to talk to. But there's guys out there that aren't like that. And you'll cross paths with them in your professional career, in your regular social life. You have to be careful for these people. Because the same line that's around them that's around the Earth and all these other bodies out there. And when you reach that limit of that line, you get destroyed. What am I talking about here? Everybody's really dramatic sounding. You get destroyed. But you all know what I'm talking about. Some folks have that intense gravity that draws people in. Good or bad. Just a quality about them that brings you in and makes you want to listen to what they say. Some people have this quality, but it's not always a good person that has this quality. That's one of the cautionary tales I want to tell you today. Comparing people to foreign bodies, such as the moon, planets. The lesson is to be on guard for this sort of thing. And the only reason I give you this lesson now is because I've had to learn it myself. And I think it's definitely a hard lesson to learn. Because you just don't get churned up and spit back out. It can last a long time. You could have a lot of pain over it. And it applies to you personally. It applies to you in business. It applies to you in all parts of your life, even with your family. You guys have probably heard it at one point or another in a movie. If you love somebody, let them go. Think about that for a second. Listen to that statement. If you love somebody, let them go. That doesn't make any sense, does it? But aren't there people out there that even though you're drawn to them, that sort of magnetism is going to do you in? People recognize that. People just aren't good for each other for whatever reason. That happens sometimes. The lesson I want you guys to learn from me, if you haven't learned it already, you have to be willing to acknowledge that that issue exists. You must be willing to walk away from somebody for the betterment of all parties. You must be willing to walk away before you cross the Roche limit and destroy yourself and the person you're going towards. Think about that. We've all faced that problem. It can be a painful thing. It's really painful if you do it before the destruction happens too. Because think about that. You have to walk away from somebody because you know it's happening. The other person doesn't always know it's happening. That's the toughest part about it. That's the toughest part about life sometimes. My name is Zach Ciota, and I am the tradesman. Thank you for listening, guys. Thank you for listening to The Tradesman. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. It's a little bit different format than I had before, because this time we didn't have a guest. I just had a subject I wanted to talk about. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can go over onto YouTube on WJR Pro and give me a comment on it, or find me on Facebook. You probably already know where I'm at. I'm not going anywhere. You can find me there as well. We had a Jackson Systems ad at the very beginning. Check them out too if you need HVAC controls. Thermostat Imprinting, they will hook you up. It's a great company, a great guy to partner with. We've had a great time with him so far. That's Tom Jackson. We're going to run a couple more ads here, one for Sporlet, who's really the first partner I ever had on podcast. They've been fantastic as well. We're going to run their ad. We're going to run an ad for Southwire as well. So listen to all three of these. Show them some love. I know you hear the ads a lot, but actually check them out. I think you'll be happy with them. We only work with people here on this podcast, at HVAC Shop Talk Podcast, that we believe are doing good for the industry and that are quality companies. We wouldn't put anyone out there we didn't think you guys could trust and use. So please do check them out. Guys, I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening.
For over 60 years, Southwire has provided high-quality electrical wire and cable to the commercial and industrial construction industries. Now, the name you trust provides durable, cutting-edge, professional-grade tools designed with safety and productivity in mind. Southwire's tools are backed with a no-hassle lifetime warranty.
Meet Zoomlock, the 10-second flame-free refrigerant fitting from Parker. Reduce labor costs by 60% with no brazing, no flame, and no fire spotter. Discover how Zoomlock can help you be more efficient and productive. Visit Zoomlock.com for more information.